One.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are going to be covering the Scan-A-Rama Ding Dong webinar. You're going to learn all kinds of great things about scanners and scanner technologies. Today, your presenters are Chris Krause, Manager of Professional Services, and Wendy Crockett, Inside Sales and Scanner Guru. You have the scanner professional, the expert here with you today to answer all of your questions and give you some deep insights into what is in touch with the latest scanner technologies.
Good morning.
As with all of our webinars, everybody is muted, and the screen chat box is available to you in your upper right-hand corner. You should be able to chat, send in all of your chat messages, including any questions that you might have during the presentation. We will save those for the end and go through as many of them as we can. And of course, you'll be able to contact us at the very end. We'll give you all of our contact information so you know how to reach us if you have questions after the fact. And additionally, we appreciate all of your survey feedback that you provided to us throughout our years of webinar presentations. We look forward to any comments, any suggestions on new webinar content, and that's where this one came from. So thank you for suggestions, and please take those few minutes after our webinar to fill that out. So what are we going to cover today? Well, you're going to learn a lot about the latest scanner technologies. It's changed a lot over the years. They still kind of look the same, but they're wholly different than they used to be even 5 or 6 years ago. So we're going to cover, from a hardware perspective, how they've changed. Then we're going to dive into how some of the software enhancements have come a long way. And that's including Copex BRS, along with some of the scanner-specific enhancements that have been put out there that come built into the scanner software. Then we're going to help you decide, is it time to upgrade or not? Because it's not always an easy decision. Your scanner might be working, but maybe you need to upgrade PCs because you're doing a Windows 7 rollout, or maybe it's just time to make a switch. Maybe your volumes have changed because you're doing more digital ingestion of your documents. Then we're going to go through what are the scanner PC requirements and why are some of those requirements the way they are and what you should be looking for when you buy a new PC for your scanner. And last but not least, just like a good car, you need to make sure you have great maintenance plans put in place so that your scanner runs for a long time. So we're going to cover the different types of maintenance plans that are available and what you can do to save money in that area. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Wendy Crockett.
Good morning, and let me just say welcome to the first day of spring. Raise your hand if you're sick of winter.
I see a lot of hands in the air.
Now slap yourself with that hand for not moving south. Just some general terminology. Again, this is general. These terms are not industry standard, so you might run into some different variations if you're looking. But in general, scanner sizes and volumes is divided into 3 levels. Low volume scanners, which would include personal scanners for home use, are generally 0 to 25 page per minute speeds. Desktop scanners, 0 to 50 page per minute range. And then you move up into the work group, which 50 to 80 pages per minute volume per and that would typically be a scanner in an office which has multiple people using it. And then you move up to medium level production scanners, 80 to 100 pages per minute. And then the big ones, the high level production scanners, which are scanning in excess of 100 pages per minute. And then duty cycles, pages per day, is another number that you should know. It's a number set by the manufacturer, so it might vary. It indicates the highest level of throughput for that scanner on a daily basis. Personal scanners are usually 500 pages a day or less. Desktops between 500 and 6,000 pages per day. Work groups 6,000 to 15,000. Medium level production anywhere from 15,000 to 50 pages per day. And then the high level production scanners 60,000 to unlimited. Again, if you are looking for a new scanner and you want to be under this number, this is the highest level you should shoot for. If you're meeting or exceeding that number consistently, your scanner is going to break down more than you want it to. You don't want it to break down at all, but you're going to cause breakdowns if you're exceeding this number on a daily basis.
So you're saying size matters?
Size does matter. Very important.
Yes.
The brand new thing out there is Wi-Fi connected scanners. Just like it sounds, you scan wirelessly to your PC, your Mac, your Android devices, and or your iPad or iPhone. Right now it's kind of limited to PDF or JPEGs. And at this time, Canon and Fujitsu have the only Wi-Fi enabled devices supported by Navient. On the left is the Canon P-215, also known as the Scan-A-Rama. It's a portable scanner, so it's suitable for a mobile workforce. You can fold it up and you can stick it in a bag with your laptop. It scans to PCs, Macs, or Android devices. It's about 15 pages per minute. You can scan hard cards. You can scan embossed cards. List price is about $565 with the battery pack Wi-Fi unit that you see attached to it. The one on the right is the Fujitsu Scan-Snap IX500. This one scans to PC, Mac, and Apple mobile devices. And it lists for about $495, 25 pages per minute scanning. It's considered more of a personal scanner for home use because it does not have ISIS or Twain drivers, so it may not be suitable for your business applications. For scanning to mobile devices with both of these, you download the free app, pretty standard. And there are security protocols in place that protect your data.
So as Wendy kind of pointed out, they're both obviously very low volume, but their portability and the fact that they're wireless make them very nice for having people that travel on the road. Maybe you have an insurance adjuster who needs to scan in his report, or a home inspector, or perhaps you just have your sales folks that need to scan in their receipts for an expense reimbursement form process that you have in non-base, for example. These scanners are perfect for those applications.
And there's a few other brands out there, just these two are supported by Navient. And here's a little video demonstrating the Scan-Snap IX500 scanning wirelessly.
The other thing it has on the back here is a Wi-Fi switch, and the other versions of the scanners that I have don't have Wi-Fi, and I'm going to show you what that Wi-Fi is for right now. And that is because they have an app, as everybody does these days, for the iPad and iPhone and Android. And when you load that app up, you can basically take a document or a stack of documents, stick them in the printer, and hit the scan button on the pad, and that document is going to get transmitted over the air to your iPad, and it doesn't require the computer to be on when you do it, which is a nice feature. You do need the computer on to configure it, but you don't need it on once it is configured. And there's a password protection, so nobody can hijack your scanner when you have paper loaded in. As you can see here, it gives us the document that we just scanned. And another thing that it does, which is kind of neat, is that it also allows you to shoot that document to apps that can open it. So as you can see here, I can get my Evernote, which is my favorite place for my documents to go, but I can also drop them over to anything else that iOS is running that can read a PDF file. So that is a pretty handy feature. Now,
Thank you, YouTube, for those videos.
So you can see that's a pretty cool use for the wireless scanner in that case. Once it was set up, you can take it to any of your devices, scan in a document or a supporting document to your business process, and have it go directly to any of your devices. I know we've got several customers running iPads internally, and how easy is that to get your documents in to the iPad via PDF?
All right, another new technology, there are LEDs, or light-emitting diodes. They're in our TVs, now they're in our scanners. If you're running an older production scanner like a Bell & Howell, you are probably purchasing fluorescent lamps as a consumable item. And that is something you have to constantly be budgeting for. LEDs last the lifetime of the scanner, and they save you time because there's not that lag time in between turning on the scanner and waiting for the lamps to warm up before you can scan something. It's pretty much instantaneous. Turn the scanner on, it's ready to scan. So it saves you time and it saves you money by lasting the lifetime of the scanner. Pretty simple. Ultrasonic double feed detection is something that you have sensors available in the scanner. They detect either the gap between overlapping pages or they detect a discrepancy in the length of the pages going through the scanner. And when a double feed is detected, it stops the scanner. So at that point, you can reset the batch from that page and you don't have to rescan the whole batch. In bigger scanners, you will have up to 3 sensors and you have the ability in the software to turn off and on different sensors. So if you always have Post-it notes in the upper right corner, you can shut off one of the sensors and then your scanner will still detect double feeds, but it will ignore the Post-it notes on the right side of the page, so you're not annoyed by the scanner stopping constantly. Lower volume scanners and smaller scanners will usually only have one sensor, and then it either is going to detect the gap or it's going to detect the page length discrepancy. So a little simpler operation for the smaller scanners. And going hand in hand with that, we have multi-feed functions. This is just a function of the software. Once the sensors detect a double feed, the scanner stops, and you can, if it's a sticky note or something that's supposed to be there, or like an envelope, you can bypass that and just keep scanning. It's either going to be a pop-up box in the software that pops up and says, do you want to keep scanning, or it'll be a button on the scanner that you just reach over and push it, and you can keep scanning.
I know for us, we use that with all of our taped-on receipts for expense reports. Works great.
And finally, this is a feature that we're seeing on smaller scanners, personal, desktop, and some of the smaller workgroup scanners. It's called the Scan-To function. Sometimes it's called the job button. It allows ad hoc use of the scanner. You have a bunch of people using it and they're using it for different things. They can walk up to the scanner and they can scan to Microsoft Office functions. They can scan to email. They can scan to a network folder, or they can scan to the cloud using any of the cloud applications that are out there today. Sometimes, as you can see on the graphic in the upper left corner, sometimes there are dedicated buttons. Sometimes there's just one button. There's a little LED window, and you can cycle through. You can set up to 9 jobs, and then you just cycle through the numbers until you get to the one you want. Here's a video just kind of demonstrating that functionality on a Kodak scanner.
Kodak Smart Touch Scanning Intelligence makes complex tasks one button easy. Automate the scanning process by presetting file type and output format. Then scan documents to your network, email, Microsoft SharePoint, Microsoft Office applications, and more. You'll really tame your to-do list. You get digital images that look even better than the original documents, thanks to built-in perfect page technology that automatically adjusts settings to enhance image quality. Reduce rescans and post-image processing while increasing productivity in OCR-based applications. And talk about desktop friendly. The unique stow or go design takes up less space when you're not scanning and tilts into scanning position in an instant. There's even a cool 7-story document tray that easily adjusts to accommodate just about any size of document. For oversized, fragile, or bound documents, the optional A4 size flatbed accessory is ideal. If you have serious scanning needs, you need a serious scanner. Kodak i2000 series scanners let you know what it feels like to get ahead.
Little plug for Kodak there. I just want to mention that flatbed scanner accessory because a lot of manufacturers are going away from the built-in flatbed type scanner. There's still a few out there, but most of them are now offering a flatbed accessory that you can purchase separately and plug into your scanner if you still need a flatbed for something. A software piece that's new out there, kind of new, is Central Console. Again, that's not an industry standard, so you're going to come across different definitions. At the lowest level, it will allow your IT staff to proactively monitor a fleet of scanners from a Central Console. And at minimum, at the lowest level, it monitors scanner consumable use, scanner health, and you can push driver updates out for your end users to download. There is one manufacturer that is offering this on a limited number of their scanners. As a free, it's bundled with the scanner. More advanced applications will allow you to push out scanner profiles and software updates and manage those. Those you have to pay for.
For those of you that this sounds somewhat familiar, you would have seen this type of software edition available via only the Kofax. VRS was the first one to come out with that ability, a central admin console to manage your licensing, scan profiles, software updates. All of that was handled in that central admin, which is really nice. However, now most manufacturers are coming up with this type of software edition as well to monitor the fleet of scanners available within your organization.
And it saved your IT people, who are always busy, from having to visit every location and every PC.
Absolutely. So with that, I mean, those are some great hardware-related enhancements that you can now leverage when you go shopping. It's good to know what you're looking for and what's available to you. Now, let's look at some of the other features that you can look for in your imaging enhancement software. So some of these, most manufacturers have gotten up to speed with their included software to include many of these functions we're going to show you now. Of course, Kofax VRS Elite, which many of our scanners and companies use today, include these features as well. So one of the first ones we want to talk about is the auto color detection. And this is really nice when you have a whole stack of documents. Maybe you're using your production level scanner, you put in a batch of 500. Most of your documents are black and white, but you have some with some pictures in it, and you want to preserve those pictures in that color. And that could be in the middle of your batch. So as it's scanning through, a normal scan would leave those black and white. If you have the auto color detection enabled, as it's going through, it's going to scan all your black and white images as black and white images, normal 200 dpi, keep the file size small. But when it comes across that document in the middle, as pictured in the slide, it will actually scan that one in color. So your image size for that particular image will be a little bit larger, but it will preserve the integrity of the photos and any of the color that is on that page. Thus, when you do a retrieval later on, you're going to get the best color image or the best image the first time through. And it requires no operator assistance and no batch prep required. So because it's doing it in the middle of your batch, your end operators, there's no additional work for them to be able to retain that or pull those up separately and scan them in a different mode. Another one that's really nice, the auto rotation. In this case, intelligent rotation. And Kofax has been using this for a while, and almost all the other scanning manufacturers have come up to speed on this one as well. And this is really nice for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, of course, if you have a scan operator, or maybe you have a substitute scan operator that's coming in to fill in for somebody and they load the paper incorrectly, those images will automatically be rotated to the proper viewing orientation based on content. So almost all of them use an algorithm that will go through and check the content and present it to you in the way you would read it. In this example, you can see it was located landscape and then rotated to be portrait for viewing. By loading paper landscape, you actually can increase your throughput on your scanner because the distance that is traveling through the paper path of the scanner is reduced, and yet your viewing angle is going to be 100% accurate. It doesn't matter which way you load it, it will always rotate it the proper way. So a great feature to enable on all of your scanners. Another one that's grown in popularity is the hole punch removal. In this case, you can see my example, I've got 3 hole punch on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, after it's gone through the automatic filling, any circles on the edge of the pages are filled up automatically. And I've seen this used a lot with duplicate copy carbon items where the top will have 2 holes, for example. It'll fill those, or in this case, a 3-hole punch. Anything you pull out of a ring binder to ultimately store it as an image will be filled in. Another image enhancement that is very popular is the intelligent halftone. It sounds complicated, but really all it is when you scan in a black and white image, typically what would happen is you would get your text and it would look great, but the picture, maybe in the bottom portion of the page, would come out like an ink blot. It would just be almost undiscernible what that image actually is. So by applying some smoothing techniques and using the shades of gray within a picture, in this case you can see Wendy's first car is on the left-hand side, and it's a very nice car, and you can see the details around that. And this is really nice when you're an insurance adjuster going out for an accident, photos, and they're getting scanned in, that you can actually take a black and white image and turn it into a nice, smooth, very discernible image versus on the right-hand side you can see it's very pixelated and you can't pick up the details because the halftone wasn't enabled. So this halftone smoothing allows you to do reduce overall image size while retaining the image quality that you need and the black and white. So very nice feature that you should look for when you're buying your next scanner. Some of the newer features, this one's really kind of cool. It's called the multi-stream function. In this case, I've got a color original document, and I want to scan it in, but I want to scan it in 2 different ways. I want to have it be available in a high-resolution color image, and I also want to have it in a low-resolution black and white image. That low-resolution black and white image might be perfect for people doing basic retrievals, or maybe I need to be able to stream this over the internet, and I can't have a large file size going across the internet, or maybe it's going to be used in an email. In this particular case, I can scan it in once and have it output using 2 different images. In this case, I'm put it through the scanner only once, but I'm going to get a color image and a black and white image, thus achieving my goal of getting both of them, but only putting it in the scanner once, saving both the rollers and the time in processing that transaction. So multi-stream is a nice new function available.
You need that for OCR as well, the black and white image.
Yes.
Works with OCR engines. Color might not be so great for that.
And everybody, almost all the scanners for a long time have been putting out PDFs, and that's not really anything new, but creating searchable PDFs is a newer technology. And for those of you that aren't sure there was a difference, because they always open up in Adobe, and you'll go in there and you'll see it looks the same, but when you try to search for something, if you do a search and it comes up with nothing found, even though you can see the word on the page, that means it doesn't have that OCR text layer embedded in with it. So many of the scanner technologies now today, software-wise, will allow you to scan it in once. It'll give you that image data that you need, along with the text data, the OCR text layer, and combine it into one searchable PDF. Obviously, for a single-page document, this is not necessarily advantageous, but when you're looking at a 500-page manual, having that searchable PDF is critical for your end users. So it's a great feature to look for when you're buying your next scanner. I'm going to turn it over to Wendy to help you decide when is it right to do an upgrade.
It's always right to do an upgrade, Chris. Always. Okay, so some questions to ask yourself if you're thinking about upgrading. Is your current scanner connected by a SCSI card to the PC?
What's a SCSI card?
Something really, really old that we shouldn't even be talking about, but they're still out there. Windows 7, 64-bit, will not support a SCSI card. Kofax originally put out their VRS software on SCSI cards, and they no longer make them, and they no longer support them. So if you have one and it breaks down, Kofax won't help you with it. They'll just tell you to buy software VRS. Also, SCSI cards will not fit into a smaller PC box. So we've had issues with both the Windows 7, where customers have upgraded, and they found that the SCSI card wasn't supported, so then they had to scramble and spend money they weren't expecting to spend. We've also had issues where customers have bought a new PC excuse me, with a smaller PC box and then found that the SCSI card did not fit. So again, they were spending money that they hadn't budgeted for. Is your current scanner a discontinued model? If it's more than 4 or 5 years old, it's probably discontinued. The manufacturer may not offer drivers for newer operating systems like Windows 7. Do not upgrade your PC without checking. If you don't know, you can check with us and we'll be able to tell you that. We have had that issue also with some of our customers. Manufacturers are required to support their scanners for 5 to 7 years after they discontinue them. So there may be drivers, there may not. We don't know. Another question, what are your current costs for maintenance and consumable supplies? New scanners require less consumables. As we've seen with the LEDs, you don't need lamps anymore. There's usually less in the way of rollers and glass and things like that. So they may be less costly to operate and maintain. This goes back to the manufacturers supporting their product for 5 to 7 years.
Some of the older models where you had to replace the rollers, you actually replaced the entire roller kit, where many of them now are actually just replacing the rubber roller on the portion itself, saving costs there as well.
And this slide just kind of shows you a typical cost savings between an older Bell & Howell scanner, between the annual maintenance for a maintenance plan and then consumable costs, potentially saving you $1,500 a year between the older Bell & Howell and then recommended replacement, the Kodak Ingenuity 9090 scanner. So you can see you have about a third of the cost in consumables and definitely a lower cost for an annual maintenance plan.
And this would be true on any level of scanner going in. Those older scanners just typically cost more to maintain. So you can get your ROI pretty quick just based on consumables and maintenance dollars as you look at each one. And of course, Wendy's great at giving you this information for your specific scanner need.
Absolutely.
So what are some important things to look at when you're looking at your scanner PC? This PC itself, what does it need to have? Because obviously we've talked about what the scanner can do now. We've shown you some of the really cool features in the software and what it can do. But to do those types of things, you also need to have a good PC that it's connected to. Most of them are still connected. As Wendy had pointed out, SCSI cards are gone by the wayside because Windows 7 just doesn't support it. Most people are going to Windows 7. The USB 2 connectivity, so obviously a USB port, pretty much standard on everything today. But since the software imaging processing, so those things we were talking about like the halftone and the auto rotation and those types of things used to reside on that SCSI card. They're actually being moved to the PC. So the PC is doing that workload of all your image enhancement, your cleanup from despeckling, your blank page removal, your auto rotation, your halftone processing. All that's happening on the PC, which of course adds overhead. So you want to make sure you meet a minimum, and that's obviously highlighted in red because it's important, to have 4 gig of RAM. Now 4 gig of RAM may sound like a lot to some, but it's really not when you look at Windows 7 alone. It wants to consume a fair amount on its own just to be up and running. So when you add in the scanning process and the image processing, having the most amount of RAM that you could possibly have is good. So 4 would be the minimum recommended amount. But if you can get 6 or 8, that would be more ideal. Also, for production level scanning, you want to have a core. So your processor that's in the PC, you want to have a multi-core, whether it's a dual core or a quad core, because Kofax VRS Elite, for example, can leverage those multiple cores to do that processing. So it can process multiple images simultaneously, because typically your bottleneck is not the scanner itself, it's actually all the image enhancement processing that happens after the image is acquired from the scanner. So in order to take advantage of and use all of those really nice features, have a multi-core processor that can then take those images, process them simultaneously, and write them to the disk. And that leads me to the last piece of the puzzle, and that is the hard disk. If you can, obviously, if it's writing to the local PC, a fast spindle would be good. If you got 10,000 RPM disk, that'd be great. If you can do SSD, that's even better, because the I/O on the disk becomes the next bottleneck, or directly to your network. So you want to make sure it's got a good throughput. If you can get a gigabit, that's great. Because any of those processes to get those images to the final resting place is where you want to look for enhancements. So just to kind of summarize up, You want to make sure that you have USB connectivity. You want to make sure you have a maximum amount of RAM. 4 is the minimum, but get 6 or 8. And get a multi-core processor. Right now, there's just tons out there. You can't go wrong, whether you're an AMD fan or an Intel fan, dual-core, quad-core. Just make sure you don't get a single-core Celeron processor. Upgrade the processor on it, and take a look at the hard drive. Again, look at the speed of the hard drive, what's the I/O of it. If it's writing locally, if it's going to the network directly, then make sure you have gigabit network card on it and that kind of connectivity from that PC. Now, to help with deciding what can I actually use with what's supported with my particular scanner, because maybe you're not sure, this whole upgrade not, of course you'd like the new things, maybe you don't have the budget. One of the things you can do, and this example here on the screen is from the Kofax website, which we will give you the link to later on in the presentation. In this example, this is going through a scanner configuration to see what is supported and what versions match what. So in this example, you can see I've got a manufacturer of Canon, and my scanner is a 9080C. And you can see on the radio button next to the All Configurations, I've got it highlighted. And along the bottom, you can see all VRS configurations. So it shows not only the most current, which is VRS Elite, it also shows some of the legacy ones, including the VRS 4.2 SCSI Adrenaline connection. So this is the first step to see what's available for that particular scanner and what would be compatible with it. When I click on the details, I get a screen that looks like this. And this screen allows me to be able to see what version of VRS. In this case, I clicked on VRS Elite because that's where I want to go to. That's the latest and greatest. And you can see what operating systems are supported. So in this case, Windows 7 Business 32-bit or 64-bit are supported by VRS Elite. And you can see the minimum PC requirements, Core 2 Duo, and the PC, but recommended is the quad core. So as we kind of suggested. Now they only say 2 gig of RAM. Again, minimum or recommended. We say 4. Just because that's with the OS, that's really what you would want to have running. Because again, you want to have your end users have a good experience both with the scanner and the PC and the software used. So this website is a great way to check to see what's available for your current scanner, what's supported, and what can you do. If this isn't going to work, then of course it's time to upgrade. If this doesn't fit your needs, if you look in here and everything's legacy, that means you have to upgrade. There are no choices. But in this case, in this 9080, you can see we can go to Windows 7 and with VRS Elite.
Or you can call me if you don't want to go to this website.
or you just call Wendy. She can give you all the answers.
Okay, maintenance plans. As Chris mentioned, when you buy a piece of equipment, you want to protect that investment. So a maintenance plan may be in order. The best maintenance plan, as we all know, are trained end users who know how to prep their documents and perform diligently the daily cleaning and maintenance on the scanner. Here we have a to-do list from our service department that goes over the housekeeping tasks necessary to keep your scanner in top running condition. So they should be cleaning the glass, the rollers, and the feed areas every day. They should not be using canned air, rubbing alcohol, or rubber rejuvenator for cleaning the interior of the scanner. They should always be prepping their batch by removing staples, paper clips, and rubber bands. They should use lid-free cleaning cloths and invest in cleaning sheets, sticky cleaning sheets to clean hard-to-reach areas. Always open the scanner to remove paper jams because if you yank it through, you can ruin the motor. And then if you have problems with, if you notice an increase in double feeds and some problems with pages going through the scanner, it's probably time to replace the rollers and the pads. There are counters in the software that will show you, tell you when it's time to replace those, so you should be checking those.
And rollers and pads kind of fall under the realm of tires on a car. There's no one number that makes perfect sense for every scanner. And every scanner manufacturer, of course, has a recommendation, just like there are mileage ratings for tires. However, depending on how you drive and the roads you drive on will dictate how fast your tires wear out. Similar to this, if you have very dirty documents with a lot of little bit of sand and debris because they're out in a manufacturing area, for example, those will actually scan through and cause those rollers to wear out a little bit faster. And similarly, if you're only doing 20-pound white stock, black and white, very, very plain documents. Those will roll through, and you'll probably get a longer life cycle than what the manufacturer recommends. So knowing the types of documents that you scan through will dictate this cleaning and maintenance cycle a little bit. It will also dictate when you need to replace your rollers. But a good rule of thumb is when you start getting a lot of poor document separation, a lot of multi-feeds. Typically that's because those rollers are just wore out and cannot accurately grab the documents like they did before when they were fresh. And the same thing with cleaning would fall into that same rule depending on how dirty your documents are. We say daily because generally speaking that's a good recommendation for most customers, but if you're putting through a lot of documents, feel free to clean it at lunchtime. So a lot of people will scan in the morning through a high volume document scanner, clean it, when they go to lunch, and when they come back they know they're going to get good clean images all the way through the rest of their daily processing. So don't feel like there's only one rule for this, but these are just the recommendations.
Always better to be proactive than to be sorry later. So there are a couple levels of maintenance plans, and that falls into line with the different levels of scanners. Advanced exchange, also known as advanced unit repair, is one level. This is good for low-end desktop scanners, although we are seeing it filter into some of the medium-level scanners. Essentially what this means is your scanner breaks down, and then you would either call Navient or the manufacturer support line. And then the tech support, the manufacturer's tech support, will attempt to fix your problem over the phone. If they can't fix it over the phone, they will overnight you a refurbished scanner. Note that that is not a new scanner you're getting, it's refurbished. They will, you will then drop your broken scanner in the box that the refurb came in, and use the enclosed shipping label to send it to the manufacturer, and then you install the refurb. Again, this is a good plan for low-end scanners. You do not get your original scanner back. So if that's important to you, this is not the plan for you. A lot of scanners are coming with 1 year of advanced exchange as the warranty on the scanner. So again, anything from low-level desktop scanners up to some of the medium-level, medium-volume scanners. Depot repair, it's the same as advanced exchange, except the manufacturer fixes your scanner and then sends it back to you. So there's a few extra steps there. Cost on advanced exchange and depot repair is the same. It's just, you know, which do you prefer? Do you want your scanner back, or do you care that you have a different scanner? If you have a large number of scanners and you track them by serial number, you may want your original scanner back. For medium or higher level production scanners, this is a more significant investment of your money, so you may want an on-site maintenance agreement to protect that investment. Best for scanners that are used heavily on a daily basis. On-site maintenance plans or preventative maintenance agreements include, with Navient, they include all break-fix parts, trip charges, and labor costs. Usually, it also includes 2 preventative maintenance visits per year where the technician will thoroughly clean your scanner and inspect all of the parts. Inspections mitigate disaster. We have found that a minimum of 2 inspections per year will basically eliminate any breakdown problems. They can monitor operator effectiveness in both document prep and scanner cleaning. And if the end users are doing something wrong, this is where the service technician would bring it to their attention and maybe do some retraining on the spot to show them the proper things that they should be doing. These are more expensive than the advanced exchange and depot repair because they cover all break-fix parts. So you might think it's too expensive, but if a staple falls into a board in your scanner and blows out that board, you know, you could be looking at a $2,000 cost to replace that board. Well, you know, if you're spending $12.95 a year on a maintenance plan, that's just more than paid for itself. Some of the pros and cons, advanced exchange, the pros are it's inexpensive, and you can usually buy additional years at the point of sale. You can add them later too, but it's going to be a little more expensive. Cons are that there's a longer downtime with the shipping involved, and you don't get your original scanner back. So if your scanner has 1,000 clicks on it and it breaks and you send it in, the scanner you get back might have 15,000 clicks on it or 20,000. You just don't know. Depot repair, the pros are that it's inexpensive. You can buy additional years and you get your scanner back. The cons are that there's an even longer downtime with more shipping involved. And then for on-site maintenance agreements, the pros are that you get faster on-site service. You can get a multi-year discount if you purchase multiple years up front, or you can sometimes lock in your price over a number of years if you agree to that up front. You get to keep your scanner. It never leaves site. And you get preventative maintenance visits to prevent downtime. The cons are that it's more expensive.
And make sure when you do get your on-site maintenance plan, if you do decide to go that route, because it is obviously gives you many additional benefits above and beyond the depot repair, that you pick a partner that is certified and has award-winning techs servicing your equipment, because you don't want to let that just to be any fly-by-night company. You want to make sure you have good qualified people working on your equipment. So with that, we're going to show you a little bit of video that kind of sums up a lot of what we've talked about today. And well, it's just a pretty funny little video.
Not even Ninja Trickery can get these reports in on time. Like a shadow, the ninja fights his way through the darkest of night.
You can see by that video, it was actually loosely based on a recent incident between Wendy and I in the office. But we didn't want to act it out. We hired actors to do that for you. No, just kidding. But it did demonstrate some of the key things that we were already been talking about, like the auto orientation process. So when you put them in the scanner, although his document prep was not up to par.
We do not recommend that document.
That document prep was not good at all. But it did show the image cleanup, the auto orientation, and then the saving to PDF. So you got to see a few of the functions in action simply by a mistake, throwing papers on the floor, getting them all crinkled, and then throwing them into a scanner and having them autocorrect out by the software image enhancement process, in this case, Kofax VRS. So, as we promised, there's a few online resources you can leverage to be able to do some research on your own. And the first one is our Navient Cafe. We post a lot of different content. Obviously, many of you know the on-base content that's out there, very prevalent. We also post a bunch of scanner content out there as well. So feel free to do a search on our Navient Cafe for any of the posts similar to this. Also, the Highland community. For those of you scanning directly into OnBase, you can go out to the community and learn about some of the latest scanning interfaces with OnBase directly. And the next one down, the Scan-Admin, is the KC search. That third one down is used for what I showed you earlier, which was the scanner configurator. By going to this link, you are able to check and see if your scanner is compatible with the latest versions of Windows, or perhaps you want to see, is there the latest version of Kofax VRS that it's compatible with. So fantastic resource for you to leverage. And last but not least, the Kofax.com VRS. As we have been mentioning and showing you some of these features and functionality throughout the day, the VRS website from Kofax is very nice in showing you all the features and functions that you should be looking for when you purchase your next scanner. Now we're going to open it up to some questions. You have the scanner guru sitting here ready for you. Please feel free to use the chat box on the right-hand side to open up any questions. And we will be happy to answer those for you. Looks like we got one. So the first question is, do you need a production document license for each instance of the Wi-Fi scanner? And the short answer is no, you wouldn't necessarily need it. Now you would if you're going to scan directly into OnBase, but what most people are using the Wi-Fi for, they'll scan directly into a PDF document to their device and then do a file import. So that's how most of people have been doing it thus far. Now if you're going to scan directly in, of course you would need at least a desktop level license access in to scan using a Twain data source or ISIS.
Don't forget that the Fujitsu scanner, the Scan-Snap IX500, does not have ISIS or Twain drivers.
Great point. Good question.
However, the Scan-A-Rama does have the ISIS and Twain drivers.
I just love the name Scan-A-Rama. It goes great at happy hour. Ooh, another good question. Does having the users do some of the cleaning risk voiding the warranty or anything like that? That's a great question. Of course, that'd be on a case-by-case basis. However, no, cleaning generally would not result in voiding any warranties. Now, of course, if they dump a bottle of Windex inside, that would be obviously a voidable portion to the warranty. They wouldn't cover a deliberate destruction of the scanner. However, most of the time people with a light lint-free cloth, so just take a microfiber cloth, real light, just dampen it slightly, clean the entire inside from the rollers to the glass, you won't have any problems. Most end users, once you show them once, it's very easy for them to do. So the manufacturer's warranties are fully supportive of that, unless, again, there's a deliberate case. Obviously, if you go office space on it, put it out in your parking lot and hit it with a bat, that would void the warranty.
And you'll get a manual with your scanner, and it will recommend, it will tell you all the cleaning products you need, and they're manufacturer specific. There's some generic ones out there. So it'll tell you what you need to do to clean your scanner and how often you need to clean it, and it'll tell you all that information. So you don't need to worry about voiding any warranties.
Yeah. We haven't seen any to date that were voided as a result of an end user cleaning.
No.
So if it has happened, it's very, very rare. Another question is, are there any redaction capabilities at the scanner level?
No.
I have not seen any redaction capabilities at the scanner level. There is an OnBase for sure, but I have not seen any at the scanner level.
No, I don't believe there are at the scanner level. I can check into that.
So great question. And
that's asking a lot from your scanner.
Yeah, we will follow up with you and let you know if we do find one that has that capability, but at this point in time with all the manufacturers we work with and Kofax VRS does not do that natively. So. All right, so if there are no further questions, then we're just going to quickly cover the current versions. So for those of you running OnBase 12 Service Pack 2 is the latest and greatest out there. I know there's rumors of OnBase 13. It's coming around the corner. Right now they do not have an anticipated date, but they have said July-ish, meaning June, July, summertime. All of those have been kind of thrown around. So if you're planning to do an upgrade and you're going to start now, SP2 is a great option. If you're willing to wait until summertime, or some of you like to do it a little bit after somebody has done it, then early fall would be the recommendation to go to OnBase 13. Kofax Capture 10 is the latest and greatest in the Kofax Capture world. And as we've been talking about pretty much all day, Kofax VRS Elite R2 is available. So 5.1 R2 is the latest and greatest. Many of you have put in VRS Elite 5, which had some performance enhancements to it. R2 really just increases the performance capabilities of the image enhancement, advanced clarity, and those types of features. So definitely worthwhile, worth upgrading. And the last but not least, Teleform's 10.7 is available. For those of you running Teleforms, a great capture tool for getting your forms into a system and extracting the data from it. That 10.7 is the latest one there. Ooh, we just got a new question. What are the main benefits of going to OnBase 12 SP2? Well, depending on your modules, there's a lot of, and where you're coming from, SP2 does offer a lot of enhancements and fixes to the Unity client, for example, the web client, the app server, anything core related had a lot of enhancements. So depending on what version you're coming from and going, obviously, to SP2, we can actually get you a Delta report. So simply contact support, and I'll give you that contact information in just a moment, and we can give you what's called a Delta report, which contains all of the enhancements and fixes from your current OnBase version to OnBase version 12 SP2. So it's a comprehensive list. Depending how far back you're going, can be very exhaustive. If you're only going from 11, that list will be fairly short, but feel free to contact support and get that comprehensive list. And as promised, here's how you can contact us. If you have any additional questions, if you saw some things that you want to learn a little bit more about, you can call us on our 800 number, 686-8789, which I know you all have on speed dial number 1, or you can just send us an email at support@navient-inc.com. And anything sales related, ROI related, or otherwise will be routed directly to Ms. Wendy to help you guide you through the quagmire of scanner options.
There are many of them out there.
And you can always contact us also via our live chat. Directly from our Navient Inc. page, we have a chat button. We are on there all day long. Feel free to send us any requests via that method as well. Our next webinar is coming up May 22nd with a topic to be determined. Hopefully we get a few more great ideas from you guys. As you came up with this one, we want you to come up with more great ideas via the survey, so we'd appreciate any ideas you may have on that. And, as always, a fantastic Navient conference not far around the corner, so if you haven't marked your calendar, please do so now. October 14th and 15th, we are in the Wisconsin Dells, having a lot of fun, learning great new things, and seeing some of the great new scanner technologies that we talked about today, and learning a lot more about OnBase and Kofax VRS and image processing, and of course having a great meal and having a lot of fun with people who love doing document imaging.
Water park, that's all I can say.
Yeah, so we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you all very, very much for attending our webinar today. We'd like to see you at the conference, and of course, feel free to contact us anytime. We know you're busy, we know you have lots of options and vendors, and we love having you as our partner in our business. So have a great day. Thank you very much for attending.